Welcome to They Fucked Us Up, the podcast where we discuss movies from our childhoods that either traumatized us, tormented us, or just stuck with us in a very significant way. I am one of your hosts, Xandra, and I'm here with.
Me, Jake. Hi.
Hey, that's a
How's
great
it
way to
going?
start off the
I
new
I know.
year.
Yeah, we are recording on December 1st. Just not January
January
1st.
1st.
Sorry, it's
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind
it's been
of
a whirlwind of a year and it
ready
ended
for
the
it.
same. So,
Yeah.
but
Um
yeah,
yeah,
welcome back everybody.
we took a little bit of a hiatus because we needed it for our mental health sake.
Mental health. Yeah. But we're
And
back.
and work and stuff like that. So, but we're back, baby. And go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say like the inspiration of coming back was actually a good thing of this year, which was
Right.
Wicked. For
Yeah.
me, I mean, that was my inspiration.
Yeah. No, it was mine too. Whenever you said it, I was like, oh shit, yeah. So if you didn't already know from probably the title of this podcast episode, we are going to be looking at Return to Oz from 1985.
I did not grow up with this one. This is something that I discovered
Mm-hmm.
uh, actually with this watching.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but obviously, Wizard of Oz, as you know, like it was a big
Yeah,
part of our childhood. I'm kind of surprised that I missed it, but
I'm not.
I,
Because did I show it to you? I think I showed it to you, right?
I
Like
don't know.
a couple
I
of
don't
years ago?
remember. I don't
No?
remember because
Okay.
honestly, I remember seeing like I remember some bits of it, but most of
I
it I
might
don't
have
remember.
also just traumatized you with little clips from the movie
Possibly. No, we
because
possibly. Yeah.
because I saw this in middle school. I was in it was called speech and debate class,
Mhm.
but it was a lot more theater class too. It was like an intro to theater almost, or an intro to
Like
all
public
types
speaking.
of,
Like,
yeah, kind of. It was like all types of communication. And so like we did do debates and we had to do this competition for all the schools that was like I don't know why, but I just remember doing a lip syncing dance to Rocking Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. I'm not sure why I chose that song, what it was for. I don't remember what the prompt was to doing it. I also remember we had to like lip sync to a 1970s song, and me and my nerdy ass friend in the class decided to take that and warp it, and we did the Weird Al Yankovic cover of Bye Bye Miss American Pie, but it was the Bye Bye Mr. Anakin guy.
yeah, yeah. I love
And
that
I
song.
was dressed as Palpatine in the back, strumming a guitar, lip syncing while the person in front of me was like dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so we were a bunch of nerds. But anyway, so it kind of introduced you to theater in all forms.
Mhm.
And one of it was to introduce us into like musical theater and costuming and set design and stuff like that. And so one of our assignments was to watch The Wizard of Oz, figure out a character that we wanted to redesign,
Mhm.
essentially, and
Mhm.
then like build it out on a Barbie doll.
Interesting. Okay.
And then while we were building it out, we were watching this movie.
What
And
character did you choose?
I chose Glinda, and I felt like I was in a fever dream because I just remember sewing this weird ass rose onto this like skirt,
Mhm.
like embroidering this rose onto this skirt while I'm watching this fever dream of a movie.
So wait,
And
okay. So you watch. Wait, hold on. So back up. So you were watching Wizard of Oz, decided that you were gonna do Glinda, and then as you're doing it, you decided to watch the sequel.
no, they were showing the sequel in class
Oh, okay.
while
Got
we
it.
were
Okay.
working on our redesign
Got it.
for some reason.
Was that supposed to like inspire you? Like,
I guess, I don't know. I guess because it's not exactly like the same style, that it was
no,
just
it's
showing you
not.
can do things a little bit differently depending on how you want to do it. And
Was Tin Man already out at that
no,
time?
no, that was right after I graduated high school, or right before. I don't know. That was whenever that was on Sci-Fi, and I did watch that one because like I did kind of have an obsession with Wizard of Oz for a period of time. This movie kind of broke me of that to a certain extent, and then I kind of got a little bit back into it, and then Tin Man came out and that broke me again.
Like I feel like that was every
Especially,
adaptation
yeah, especially
except
considering
for
I watched
Wicked.
that with Kevin, who used to do this podcast with us, and Kevin lost his fucking mind
On
on
Tin
the
Man.
last episode. He just went, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" It like,
You're out
cause
of your
it,
tiny little mind. It
that was the best though. Like
is the best
she
line.
delivers it in like the most monotone way.
You guys are out of your tiny minds.
Dude.
It's the most Zoe Deschanel way of doing
Or
it.
yeah, if you've never seen Tin Man, like I'm not saying anybody should watch Tin Man, but if you have a thing for the Wizard of Oz, it is funny to watch.
All right, so before we get into Return to Oz,
Mhm.
I just want to talk real quick about Wicked because
Yes.
I, so listeners, I was a musical theater actor for a while, and
Could you
and
tell?
yeah, right. But like the thing is like I wasn't the kind of musical theater nerd that would listen to musical theater soundtracks like all the time. Like I wasn't one of those people. I was just more like I like to be on stage. Yay, give me a part. Um, but
I
like
just want to sing.
yeah, right. I just want to sing. Stop
No,
it. Stop
no,
that.
stop that.
But like one of the things that we were all waiting for was a Wicked movie. Like it was one of those adaptations that everybody was asking for. And I remember around the time when I was actively doing musical theater is around the time where Oz the Great and Powerful came out.
Oh God.
And I remember going to theater and
Yes.
seeing that and just like, who asked for this? Who asked for this? Because I
It's when
will.
people had an obsession with James Franco for some reason, and why they thought he would be a good him and Mila Kunis. Now, she's not terrible, but she's not very good either.
She wasn't well directed in it. Like she's
Yeah.
not a bad actress, but like
Mhm.
just the directing in that movie was really bad.
But James Franco is absolutely terrible.
No, he looks high the whole time.
Yeah, which he probably was, let's be real. And then
But like,
Rachel Weisz is somehow in it too, and I'm like, who
yeah,
decided you needed to be in this?
right.
Like, and why did you agree? But
Like
anyway,
Michelle Williams is pretty good. But
she has the light ethereal quality that works for Glinda.
right.
And
But
Rachel
like
Weisz is
so
the Wicked Witch's sister.
yeah, basically the Witch of the East sort of.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
like
the one that gets the house dropped on her.
yeah. But so when Wicked came out and I was hearing all this like all that really annoying buzz that was going on with
Hmm.
the poster controversies and all that, I was getting
Oh
really
yeah.
like fed up. I was like I really didn't want to go see it. I was like I'm over it
Yeah, I get that.
before I even saw it, I was over it. But then my partner was like, "Oh my God, I want to go see it. Like, I want to go to the theater. I want to get out of the house. Let's go." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do it. Fine." And I swear, like the entire time, I was just entranced. Like the movie was phenomenal. I can't stress that enough. It was really good. I mean, there were moments that were a little too musical theater for me. Especially like any of the scenes with Piero, is it?
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
like
Fiero.
Dance Tonight, or what was that song where they're all dancing in the library? I was kind of over it at that point, but
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it was very well choreographed. Here's the thing
it was a little too
is
CGI though. Mm,
well, yeah. And then early 2000s musicals had a very specific sound to them.
yeah,
Like Popular has that early 2000s musical theater sound to it that
yeah.
kind of takes you out of the story a little bit. But it relates to the story. So, but like Fiero's thing also kind of takes you out of it and it kind of I I love the movie, don't
I
get me wrong.
agree. I agree and I disagree. I agree with you that both of them are very 2000s and all that, and
Hmm.
they're. But I will say his took me out of it just because of how over the top it
Hmm.
is.
Hmm.
Whereas the comedy aspect of Popular, the way
Yeah.
that Ariana
Yeah.
Grande played it,
Uh-huh.
made it work for me. Like
Yeah.
like this is a joke
Yeah. Yeah.
almost. And
Yeah.
like the moment where she's like on the floor, like swimming on the floor, I
Yeah.
lost my shit. Like I had to
Right?
compose myself because I was done
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point. It was so good. And so
Yeah.
like the cheesiness of the style of the music, I got over it because of how funny the scene was.
Right.
In Fiero's song, I feel like I was supposed to just find him attractive and that was supposed to draw me in.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
he just looks very like standard,
Yeah.
attractive white male in a
So,
musical. Like I didn't really
yeah.
feel anything else towards him
So
besides him.
from what and I was watching another pod or an essayist, FD Signifier talking about
Oh,
this,
I love him. Oh yeah.
is that yeah, he has two channels. He's got FD Signifier and FD Signifier B-sides, where he kind of
Mhm.
just talks about random pop culture things that he likes.
Mhm.
And he had Princess Weeks on. Um, and they were talking about the musical and how in the book he's supposed to be blue. So he's kind of also like another outsider, but for some reason, like he's more taken in rather than Elphaba is.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think didn't you read the book
I
for that
did.
one?
I don't remember that.
Or
I did read the
he's
book.
supposed to have more of a like more of an outsider type of thing. And
Yeah.
then when they first did the musical, I think Tay Diggs was Fiero.
That would
And
have been cool, actually.
you're right.
That would have been really cool.
Yeah, so I'm just like if he had been less stereotypical like
Like he gave me Prince
good-looking white
Charming.
boy.
He gave
Yeah.
me Prince Charming from Into the Woods. That's the vibe I got from
Yeah.
him. And
Yeah.
so that's so like I was imagining like those characters,
Like he looks
like
like Billy Magnuson or something like that, the one that was going after Rapunzel.
agony.
Agony.
I was like, that's the vibe I got from Fiero in this, and I was just
Yeah.
like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I
But
don't
played
know.
straight, but played completely straight. Well, straight. You know
Straight.
what I mean? Played straight, like no, like
I mean, he
there's a
is
little bit of
he
humor.
is out in real life, so yeah.
No, I know. But I mean,
Yeah.
like played straight in a scene where like
Yeah.
we're supposed to take this seriously and not
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's silly as
Yeah.
hell. But
Yeah. And then the whole like her sister thing, it feels like it makes the song go on forever, I think.
it does, yeah, yeah.
And
Whereas the
because they
popular to
go
me was like pop,
straight
pop, pop.
into it, into the disco or whatever.
Hmm.
And after this whole interchange with Elphaba and her sister. But anyway, um, I liked it. Yeah, I would agree with you. There are some parts that kind of pull you out of it. I think that's just the nature of that character in general. Even when I saw the musical, I was just like, I don't like Fiero. There are a few things here and there, but my biggest thing is Madame Morble, in my opinion. I
Everybody
just
complained about it.
really, because I feel like
Yeah.
nobody's complaining
Oh
about
no,
it.
on Facebook it's everywhere. Like
Okay,
everybody's like,
I
why
don't get
did they
on
choose her?
Facebook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm old. I'm sorry.
So I'm older than you, dude. Fuck.
I'm like, you know what I
I
mean?
just,
Like, I'm so
I'm,
far behind where I'm still on Facebook. But like, everybody's been complaining, and I'm like,
she's okay. She's
it's
okay for the
normally
role.
it's normally what I would complain about, but I actually
Hmm.
didn't mind it. It
The
was
fact that
okay.
she
Can't sing.
didn't sing.
No, yeah, no,
She
yeah.
literally just talked her way through that whatever
But I
that
didn't
song.
really listen to the soundtrack, so I don't have a reference point.
Me neither, but I'm just thinking if you have a musical and this woman is a big part of the musical,
Mhm.
why would you not get somebody who could sing
Right.
to be
Okay.
that character? That's just
Because
my
there was only one song that she sang.
she's
Sang and
yeah, well in the first part I think she's a little bit bigger in the second part because
okay.
she's essentially the minion to the wizard,
Right.
which you
Right.
find
Right.
out at the end of the movie. Just spoiler alert for anybody who doesn't know how the movie ends.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Again, I don't know the soundtrack.
Hmm. I and I don't remember her songs either. I'm just saying I don't know.
It was a
She
weird
was
choice.
good. It was a weird choice. I understand why John M. Cho chose her. He likes working with her. He's done it multiple times with her.
Mhm.
Um, she is a good menacing character, but
Mhm.
she comes off menacing from the get-go, you know?
Right. Did you
And I
did
get
you
that she is kind of in the play, but like I feel like there was a little bit more like I pull
Mhm.
you in and then you find out I'm evil.
did you ever watch The Witcher? Have you seen The
Um,
Witcher?
Bits and pieces of it, yeah.
So you know the woman that plays the character that teaches Yennefer.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
She would have been great. I don't know if she can sing, but like I like that character where she's just
Yeah.
like very
I
stone cold.
in my opinion, so it was originally, I'm trying to remember who it was originally. I know at one point it was Rue McClanahan who played that character on
Really?
stage. Yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
And it was Joel Grey as the wizard, Rue McClanahan as Madame Morble.
That was a very gay cast.
Yeah, it was. Was a very
What gay
gay cast.
director was just like, this is
Gee,
like this is like my fantasy. Well,
gay
no,
in musical theater? Who would have thought?
well, I mean, like it's like fantasy football, but for like musical theater cast. You
Right?
know what I mean? Like it's like
Well,
choose your own cast.
so I'm listening to Eric Idle's book about like his diaries from when he was creating Spamalot,
Hmm.
and he's talking about like rehearsing with David Hyde Pierce and Tim Curry and Hank Azaria because they were all in the first cast.
Right. Yeah. No, that was a great cast.
Yeah.
Pamela. I wish I could have
Yeah.
seen it, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw it once in one of the touring companies that came
Mhm.
through. But yeah, it was funny. I mean, it's a funny show, but yeah, I would have been really cool to have
His
seen it
name
with
is
that
Lance a
original.
lot. He likes to
It looks
dance a
dance a
lot.
lot.
I wanted to
But
be Lance a lot so bad.
sounds about right. Oh, I
Yeah.
think they do make him gay in the
No,
play.
I think he is. Yeah.
Well, they kind of allude to it
Yeah.
in the movie
Mhm.
because it's the 70s and they can't come out and say Lancelot is fucking gay. But
Right. I mean, they
but
went as no, they did say, "Bet you're gay." No, I'm not.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty as far as you can go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but in the musical they straight up like, no, he's gay. No.
Okay. No,
He's
no,
straight up
no,
gay.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no. He gay. He gay. All
He
right.
totally gay. But anyway, so yeah, just it's like one of those things where you come across, the backstory of a musical that you're like, holy crap, this is like a who's who of, you
Right.
gay
Musical theater.
musical theater history, type of thing. So,
So,
in my
dear listener, I
opinion,
want to take a second. I want to take a second. Can you tell that we're stalling? Shut up.
we're
Can
not
you tell
stalling.
we're not?
We went on this tangent because of you, sir.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, but can you tell that we're stalling because we're worried about talking about we're turned on? Sorry.
I'm gonna
Back to
say it should have been Patty LuPone. That's all I'm gonna say.
actually, yeah, that would have been great. So anyway, Return to Oz. Let's talk about it.
All right, let's get into it. So,
I'm gonna
Return
start
to
by saying I liked
Oz.
it. I liked it.
Okay. I
I
still don't
did.
like
Okay, well.
it. I mean, okay. So there were parts that are okay, I guess I don't like it for the fact that the beginning traumatizes me every fucking time.
I mean, it's hard. It's really
It's
not for
hard to
children.
watch.
It's
Yeah,
not for children.
and we usually save our like should children watch this towards the end of the podcast?
But yeah,
Spoiler
let's just
alert.
say it. Let's just
No,
say it. No,
children should not
should not.
watch this movie
So
at all.
I'm gonna go on.
Hmm.
I'm gonna make a weird comparison here.
Hmm.
I honestly feel like Return to Oz is very similar to The Exorcist 2
Hmm.
in the sense that it's like let's
Yes.
talk about the first movie
Hmm.
and then we're going to like psychoanalyze the first movie or like
Hmm.
the character has gone through some shit in the first movie. Well,
Right. Yeah.
whatever you
I mean,
has gone through something in
in
the first
in
movie.
in the aftermath of the first movie, basically she
Right.
came back from Oz and she keeps talking about Oz and wanting to know what happened to her friends back in Oz, and her Aunt M is like, "Girl, you crazy."
Right.
And
You
like is
like you hurt your head.
gaslighting the shit out of her.
Oh yeah.
And it just like you and I had this conversation over text being like, I hate the way that the gaslighting is so real
Oh,
in this film. And maybe that's just a trauma
and it makes it
response.
worse. It makes it
But
worse with the aesthetic of the film. Like the way the film is
right.
shot is so bleak looking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like it really feels like you start the movie and you're like, wait, am I watching a fantasy film or am I about to watch
Right.
like again, it almost looks
Hmm.
horror. Like it could
Yeah,
go
it
horror.
does. Like it kind of so and I think what kind of falls into that is they had a budget, but they didn't have a very big budget because one, this, okay, so this is Disney. Let's just put that on the cards. This is a Disney movie,
Mhm.
but this is a Disney movie from the mid 80s, and
Yeah.
Disney was not doing well in the mid 80s. Like, this is, I think, the year after Black Cauldron, maybe?
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the nail, like one of the nails in the
Nail in the
coffin
coffin.
type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And that's when they had to completely reevaluate how they were going to make their films and what they
I
were going
don't
to
like
make
that
them
movie
about.
at all.
Well, nobody does. That's
I'm sorry. I
I can't
tried.
even
I
I can't even
tried.
watch it. I can't even, I'm like I watched bits and pieces of it, but the rotoscoping is so terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. How do you screw up rotoscoping? Like I just don't
Right.
even understand that part. And the funniest part is Tim Burton was part of that that
Of what?
crew
A Black
of
Cauldron
Black
or
Cauldron.
oh, really?
Yeah. So harken back to our last episode, which was Tim Burton.
Yeah.
He was working on Black Cauldron. They wanted to make it kind of dark. He went way dark on it, and they went, "Let's just have you work on this for right now." And he was like, "Fuck you guys."
Well, so Return to Oz, what's interesting about it is that it doesn't feel purposely dark. It doesn't feel purposely dark. It
Right.
feels like it's over realistic,
Uh-huh. Hmm.
but then with like some fantasy shoved in there.
So yeah, and I think that's where the difference between this movie and The Wizard of Oz comes into play is everything in The Wizard of Oz was shot on a soundstage. So
Hmm.
everything is a little 2D, you know? And
Right.
like from beginning to end, it's all kind of 2D. You have
But there's
matte
also a big
paintings
separation
and
between the
and
two.
there's the separation color-wise between the
Yeah.
two. There's not really that separation in this one color-wise because it's all kind of bleak.
Yeah.
And they filmed all of the Kansas pieces in the UK.
I
Why
can
would
see
you
that.
choose a mostly rainy, dark country for the Dust Bowl of America.
Right.
Like,
Something felt weird about that, and that, I'm glad you said that
yeah,
because I didn't know what it was, but something
yeah,
was off about the scenery.
yeah.
Like I felt
So,
like I was about to watch Secret Garden.
right, yeah, it has the same kind of aesthetic as Secret Garden, which in Secret Garden that totally makes sense because you are in England, you
Right.
are in kind of a bleak storyline to begin with, and
Mm,
like it does get better with time, but then
mm.
she just kind of returns back to Kansas and it's still just as fucking bleak. Like,
Right. I will say, like, the electroshock therapy
yeah. So
angle.
so yeah, the storyline is
Yeah.
she's
Sorry.
returned back to Kansas. She won't stop talking about it. Aunt Em is like, I can't listen to this story anymore
Mm,
because it's not real. This is a dream that you had that is not real. And Uncle Henry is also kind of a fucking layabout for some reason, which I guess he kind of was in the movie to a certain
yeah.
extent. But
Oh,
I
you mean
guess,
she bet you? Like he
yeah,
just clueless.
he's absolutely clueless in the first one. And
Well,
Aunt
I
Em
mean,
kind of like, holds up his ass. And I guess when both of the barn and the house got destroyed, they lost their workers. So
yeah,
they didn't have anybody to do the work on their farm, which they were relying on whatever the fuck their names were that
yeah.
were the
Oh
lion, the
yeah,
tin man, and the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
scarecrow.
Probably Bert. Probably Bert somewhere. You know, I don't
I
know.
think there was like a Zeke and a Bert, and
Yeah, I know.
I
Uh,
used to remember what their names were, but it was
Hank,
so
Hank,
Hank.
Hank.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm just trying
there
to
was
think of
Hank.
the most 1930s
Stereotypical,
names you
yeah,
think of.
white men's names from the 1930s. But yeah, so and that looks like the 1930s-ish.
Mm,
Like their clothing, even the way that their house is done, kind of 1930s-ish, whereas this is like 1890s and they like specifically say that it's the 1890s,
mm,
which is when the books were written.
mm,
So I think they just set it in that time frame. So she's like, we got to do something. I can't deal with your Uncle Henry being a fucking layabout, and I can't deal with you talking about Oz 24/7.
right.
So we got to do something to fix this. And so she's reading the newspaper and she sees this ad for this doctor who can help with hysteria or something like I can't even remember what was in the ad, but
Yeah.
it feels
I
like
don't
an
even remember the ad
hysteria.
though. I don't remember the ad. I just
Yeah,
remember.
like Uncle Henry was actually the one reading the newspaper, but she was the one who was talking about it.
Mm,
And so she's like, we're gonna do a day trip to this doctor and he's gonna take care of her and then we'll come back home and get right back to business.
mm,
And she takes Dorothy to this doctor and makes her tell the story, which she actually tells book version story to the doctor
mm,
because that's what the director and stuff were going off of was or the actual book series.
mm.
I don't think there is a technical Return to Oz book.
No, it
So
was based
there's a
on what I
couple, there's
read.
TikTok, there's Ozma, and another one.
So at the end of the movie in the credits, it said it was based on Princess of Ozma
Uh-huh.
and one other one. I think it was like
The
the
TikTok
book.
one.
Well, because the original book was called The Wonderful Land of Oz. No,
Uh-huh.
is it?
Yeah, The Wonderful
Is that the
Land of Oz.
original? But then
Yeah.
the sequel was called something very similar, and it's very hard to like separate
Yeah.
them. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland, where it's like Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. Like,
Yeah.
which one is which?
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of like that. So it's like,
Yeah. But there's like 10 books in the series.
There's more than 10 books in the series.
Yeah,
I think there's
I
like
just
almost
threw out like
15.
10 for because I couldn't
It's like
remember off the top of my head.
but
But
yeah, no,
yeah.
I actually did some research on the books after watching it, and oh my
Hmm.
God, it's like this
Yeah.
author just like had so much to talk about this
Yeah.
land. It's
Yeah.
cool, but man, it just goes on and on. Like the amount of
Yeah.
books, the amount of
Well, I
lore.
mean, he 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 was making his living off of these books. Like
Hmm. I
he had
mean,
originally been a journalist and that kind of fell through a little bit because of where they were living and stuff and so he was telling these stories to his daughter and which Dorothy is kind of based off of his daughter and like he people were like you need to tell these stories and so he just wrote them down and published them and they did really well and so he just kept publishing more and more books on this
I mean,
series.
Anne Rice says it, and I love it for it. So,
Yeah. But
but yeah, so they
but
go to.
yeah.
It turns out that it's electroshock therapy
Yeah.
that he's offering.
Yeah, and
Um,
she has to stay overnight to receive this electroshock therapy because it's not a one and done type of thing.
no, but let's talk about the assistant because oh my God, she
That
is
bitch. That
she's
bitch.
with
Nurse
her like
Wilson.
with her like
Yeah,
pointy
her
shoulder.
pointy shoulders. So they did kind of like dress her to look a little bit like Miss Gulch from the original movie.
Right.
To kind of like because the doctor does show up in Oz, and so does the nurse, and so does one of the orderlies, who's taking her from room to room, and um, so it's kind of a same thing as the old
The
movie
original,
where
yeah.
pretty much everybody was in the real life, and then also in the fantasy world or whatever.
Yeah, like a project they're almost like projections, like
Yeah.
in her mind. Like
Yeah, which I mean, at the end of the first one, you can kind of go, and you were there, and you were there, and you were there.
yeah.
Like, and it's like, well, no wonder people think it's a fucking dream.
Like
But
if you've ever read like Carl Jung's psychology,
yeah,
it feels like the archetype
yeah.
like it's like throwing archetypes onto like projecting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um so that's kind of what I got out of that. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, like
Yeah. I mean,
were they
she is,
actually
and she is kind of a bitch. Like she is really shitty to her. She's just like, you don't need this lunch that your aunt prepared for you, even though she's like, how long am I gonna be here? Like, are you gonna feed me? Like,
right.
I don't know what's happening. I just know I'm not going home right now.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And like
Like she's
she
cold as
meets,
hell.
huh? Oh yeah,
She's
she is
cold as
cold.
hell. Like she
She
just
is
like not give a shit.
cold. Yeah. And like even the doctor like introduces her to the machine at one point
I
and
know.
it
It's got a
looks
face. It's
it's
like,
got a
oh my
fucking
God.
face. Why? Just like this is
I'm
definitely a
like
messed up.
it feels so messed up because you're like it feels like a child is about to get tortured and they're being like
Right.
introduced to the torture machine and like be
Right.
friends with the torture machine that's about to like electrocute
Right.
the shit out of you. It's like
Yeah.
it's fucking dark as hell.
Yeah, the only thing that really bugs me is the nurse is holding these like they look like headphones, but they're the pads that they put on her head to like do the electroshocks. And
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
holding them barehanded while they're like being charged up. And I was like, I don't think you hold them bare fucking handed like
No,
this.
no. And they went
That
over her
had a Yeah,
ears,
they went over her
which
ears, which
like
is not where you would do it. You would do it on your
right on your
temples.
temples. Yeah. So
And
it was a
even they
weird
didn't
choice.
know how
Yeah, it
that
was
works.
like they had the idea of like, oh, this would be terrible, but like it wasn't really thought out.
Yeah,
But so when that happens, like there was a thunderstorm happening at the same
right.
time, right? That's
Let's back up a minute
yeah, let's
because
back up.
there
Yeah.
was there was the so she is put in this like holding room which looks like a prison cell
Hmm.
while she's waiting to be admitted into the room to get the ECT
Hmm.
and or electroshock therapy. Um and she's just kind of like, what the fuck is happening? And then this girl just kind of like shows up, like all disheveled, blonde little girl, no
Yeah.
shoes, like, and is just talking to her randomly and like they become friends and stuff. And she's like,
So
we gotta get
spoiler.
out of here.
Spoiler, that's Ozma, right? It's the
Correct,
same
yeah.
girl who, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't find that out until much later on, but
Right, right.
she's like, we gotta get out of here, like they're not gonna help you. um and there even the dialogue, like I don't remember anything about the dialogue, like mentioning why she wants to get her out. Like she's just this random child that which I mean is fine because like, you know, children in this like prisony type scenario,
Right.
I would want to escape from it too. So, and then she just kind of like hides whenever Nurse Wilson comes to get her, and then she's like strapped down to the gurney and rolled into the room, and they, do all the prep and show her the machine and like show her the headphone things, the little pads, and then excuse whew,
Bless you.
excuse me. Um, and then an electrical storm hits. And like right before she went in, the little girl is like, "Wait for the signal, I'll come and get you and we'll escape." And like the electrical storm hits and knocks out all the power. Um the doctor's freaking out about his machine, and Dorothy escapes from the gurney, escapes from the nurse and the orderlies, and runs off with the little blonde girl outside to this like, you know, stream. And the nurse is not far behind, but she's far enough that she can't
I
get
forgot
to
about
her.
that. Yeah, she almost drowns, isn't she?
How do you like that was, I guess that was also kind of what freaked me out a little bit, is like they both almost drown. Like they look
Yeah.
like they're both almost about to drown.
No, I didn't forget it, but like it just kind of it got pushed back in my mind, and now you're
Because
like
of
bringing
all
it
the
forward,
other
and
weird shit.
yeah, and so like oh my God, yeah, like that was trauma. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine like in the real world? Well, I mean the real world, like
Mm,
the
I
consequences
know what you
of
mean.
this nurse letting
Hmm.
these kids go out to the river and like being like, because
Right.
it's like let's like fast forward to the end of the movie. Don't
The
they find
end, she
her?
yes. So Aunt Em finds her like kind of passed out along the side of the river. And
Right,
like the nurse is being hauled off in like a paddy wagon. And I'm like, under what circumstances? Like they don't really even explain that. Like other than, yeah, she let the girl, she essentially let the
right.
girls get
Like
into the river. And
that's like criminal negligence. Like I
yeah,
feel like
but I don't feel like they took that seriously back then, you know?
no, probably not.
In the 1890s. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, she is a bitch of a woman. Maybe they were investigating the hospital to begin with. Like the
I think I blocked that
and
out because it was just
spoiler
so
alert, the
realistic looking.
doctor died in the like the
Electrical shock.
he burned in the building. They say he burned alive in the building.
All right. I missed that.
Yeah, like they have this like strange, weird, fast dialogue that explains what happened in the real world. And it's like the doctor was trying to save his equipment and he burned alive in the building.
No, I do remember that. I remember being like, well, guess what,
Which
stupid?
I guess kind of like makes sense to what happens, in Oz later on, but
Right.
like it was just it was they were trying to wrap they went I think they went a little too long and they were just trying to wrap everything up really quickly at the end.
Or they were just
But
not very, they were not very inspired by the real world. They just wanted to stay
yeah,
home.
yeah.
They're
Because
just
they're in Oz for most of the
most of the
movie.
movie. Yeah.
And it is a lot. Like I'm sure the movie is not as long as I think it is,
No,
but
probably
it
not. It's
feels fucking long.
it's probably like an hour and 20, an hour and 30
Yeah, but
minutes.
it feels like a
It's good.
2 hour long
Yeah,
movie,
it does.
2.5 hour
Especially,
long movie.
especially, so I'm gonna kind of skip a little bit ahead,
Yeah.
not too far
Hmm.
ahead, but whatever those wheelie guys are called,
Wheelers.
the wheelers. So
Yeah.
like anytime that they're on screen, it feels like it's going on forever. Like I
Yes.
want it to
And
end.
and I think it's because of the sound that they make.
Come here, chicken!
The sound that they make is excruciating for me.
Pushing and their acting is
Oh,
like
well,
it's
yeah,
just
their
so
acting is terrible.
well. I mean,
Because,
and I mean, I'm not saying that anybody's acting is great. I mean, Fairuza
well,
Balk is great. No, she's
she's
great.
she's the only one. Like, even so, like Ray Bolger, like I think he was the last remaining Wizard of Oz character.
Mm,
So he's the guy who played the Scarecrow from
mm,
the original one. He actually saw some bits of it before he died, and he's like, I don't really want to see the whole movie, but from what I've seen, like Fairuza Balk is a really good actress for how old she is, because she was only 10 when she
yeah.
did
No,
this
she was
movie.
amazing.
And that's
Amazing.
how old Dorothy is supposed to be in the books.
Mm,
They were originally trying to get Shirley Temple to be Dorothy in the original movie, but her contract with her company, they wouldn't let her out of it.
mhm.
And so the next best thing was Judy Garland, and she was 18 at the time or 16 at the
Right.
time. So they were
Right.
like, yeah, let's just age her up a little bit.
But like
But
Fairuza Balk, like you already know I'm a huge fan because of The
yeah,
Craft.
yeah.
Um, but like yeah, I was
She's
actually
insane in the craft.
I know,
And she's
but
insane in Waterboy. So I was just like,
she's insane in American History X.
I never saw
Like,
that one, but
oh yeah, well don't. It's fine.
that's what I've heard.
That traumatized me. Like I saw
Yeah.
that too young. I saw that way too young. I
I
saw
mean,
it in middle school.
we should probably do that as a movie, but I don't think you want
That
to
means I
watch
have
it
to
again.
rewatch it. That means I have to.
Yeah.
No, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's just it's about Nazis. It's hard, but
I mean, we could even add in Forrest Gump because I saw that at like 4 or 5 and like should not have seen that movie that young.
yeah.
But anyway, not about me.
Anyway, but like yeah, the Wheelers, they just they're so
So,
obnoxious
yeah. Yeah.
and they remind me of Labyrinth. Like they
Yeah.
remind me of characters from Labyrinth. Like it feels
Hmm.
like while I was watching the movie, I was like, I kept having flashbacks of Labyrinth because I didn't like Labyrinth that much. Like
Hmm.
I'm sorry, like
No, I
heresy.
I'm not a big Labyrinth fan either, and I'm sorry
Like
to anybody
I
who finds
love
that
David
offensive.
Bowie, love David Bowie
Yeah.
in it, but like Connolly's acting is awful. And then I'm sorry, but the characters are just insufferable. And so
Yeah.
like that whole like chase scene with the Wheelers going around, I was just
Hmm.
like, this reminds me of like that moment in Labyrinth
Right.
where all the
Yeah.
muff
Yeah.
like,
The
oh my God,
only
just end.
the only saving grace for me about the Wheelers is Doug Jones is one of them, and I try to find him whenever he's around.
Okay, that's cool.
That's the only
That's
way.
a young Doug Jones, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's literally like, let's see, Hocus Pocus is in 93 and this is 85. So
Yeah.
it's that much before, some of his big work even started.
Doug Jones.
Yeah.
We love
And
Doug
so,
Jones.
yeah, he's the guy who was the Pan in Pan's Labyrinth, had the little eyeballs in his hands. He
And so
was
apparently he learned
Billy.
Spanish for that.
That sounds about
He
right. I
learned
mean,
Spanish to do that role, and that's
he
fucking
does
impressive.
really well. Like that movie is really good. Like
Oh,
it freaked me out as a child, but
Pan's Labyrinth is a masterpiece. But then he's
again, one of
also
those that I should not have probably seen that early on. But
but I will say so Wheelers aside, like
mhm.
the moment in Return to Oz that really grabbed my attention was the introduction of TikTok.
Yeah.
Really like TikTok.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I really like Jack. But
Hmm.
like I would, right? Because it's basically Jack from Night Before Christmas.
Yeah. So
Basically. It's
yeah.
the Pumpkin King.
So I read somewhere, and this could be true, could not be true. I don't know. Because I think Tim Burton was still working at Disney whenever this movie came around. and he saw Jack Pumpkinhead and loved that look of it. And I think he definitely took inspiration for Jack
Oh, for
Skellington
sure.
from it. So there was this chicken back in Kansas that she found a key sitting
Oh my
underneath.
God, I forgot about Polina.
I did too. When I was writing my synopsis, I was like, "Oh shit, the fucking chicken. I gotta explain
She's
the
a
fucking
big part
chicken."
of the movie.
And she's a massive part of the movie, but I don't know why I can't remember the fucking chicken. I think it's just the whole electroshock therapy thing throws
I
me
think she
off.
replaces Toto, basically. Kinda.
Essentially, so like Toto can't be with her on this journey. He tries, but she's like, "Go back home."
Mm,
And for some reason, he does it. Not like she didn't try to do that in the first one, and he did not listen to her whatsoever.
mm.
But there's this chicken that like has a hard time like um
Laying
having
eggs.
eggs, laying
Yeah.
eggs. And she's checking under the chicken, and the chicken's name is Belina. It's a terrible name, in my opinion. But whatever. All of these names are fucking weird. So
Mm.
and she finds a key in the mud underneath Belina, and the key looks like it says Oz on it, and this is kind of the
The
kickoff
catalyst. The
for
catalyst.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the catalyst for taking her to have the therapy. And
Mm.
so she's like, I know it's Oz, blah 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 blah. And then when she gets kind of swept away in the river, she finds it looks like a crib, like an old-timey crib or something that she like crawls into. Some kind of weird little wooden cage that she
Uh-huh.
crawls into to like
I don't.
escape the river.
I don't
Like,
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, she crawls into it and she kind of falls asleep on it, and Belina like is there with
Oh
her.
no! Yes, 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 yes. She crawls
And
into
she
and it's
can
floating. It's
talk.
floating down. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And Belina can talk at this point, and she's like, "You can talk." And
Mhm.
they end up in this desert or whatever that
That
is like if you step on the sand, you instantly
it
die.
was basically like Child's version of like the floor is lava.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the vibe I
that's what I
got.
was thinking. That was what I was thinking, literally. I think I wrote that in my notes was like
The
floor is
floor
lava.
is lava. But like, yeah, no, it's very much that because it's
And
like they
so,
easily get out of it, but like she
mhm.
says, like if you sit in it, you stand in it or whatever,
Yeah,
like
you
the
stand on
water,
the sand, it'll like kill you.
yeah, no,
And
it'll
like
turn you to
they're
sand. I think it would turn you into
oh,
sand.
okay. Yeah,
I think something like that, and
something
I'm like,
weird like that.
that's
I
pretty
was like,
that's pretty
"Damn, that's
dramatic. But she's just like
drastic."
la
And
la la
like the
la la.
water is like slowly receding from this crib thing that she had slept in with Belina. And
And
Belina
Paulina
in
is
my
just sassy. She's just sassy
she's
as
so
hell.
sassy and so in my mind, like when I was listening to her, she sounded exactly like, did you ever watch Sister Act?
Yeah.
She sounded like that old nun from Sister Act that was like, "Now work it." I think she was also the goat in Willow.
What a reference.
I mean, it's a stupid ass movie, but I just remember her going,
Talking about 80s
"No."
fantasy.
hmm
The low art ghetto of the 80s fantasy.
Another Disney movie from that time period that did
Was
not
it
do well.
was it Disney? Willow?
Yes, yes,
Oh
because then they
no.
made a mini series recently that went back into that. I didn't even watch it because I was like,
Just let it go.
I didn't even like the first movie, but
The only good thing
but
about that was what's his name? Warlock?
yeah, yeah,
War
yeah. Warwick
Warwick.
Davis.
Yeah, Warwick Davis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Warwick
This
Davis.
was like right after he was the Ewok in Return of the Jedi, and then before he went on to go do Leprechaun.
And I
And
just we
obviously
just
Harry
recently
Potter.
watched yeah, we just recently watched the Harry Potter movies and I was like,
Yeah.
Warwick, yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so she steps on these rocks to get out of it, and like there's not many rocks that she has to step on to get out. And I'm like, these
Yeah.
were incredibly low stakes here.
Well, it's like what she said was high stakes, but then
Yeah.
the action was very low stakes. It was just like
And so I was like,
this
this
will
did
kill
not
you.
pay it off very well. But there's this like claymation face that's watching her
Oh my God.
on the
That's like
rocks
one of my favorite parts of this movie is this fucking claymation face. It shows out so many times. Like
so many
whoever
times.
animated this was very proud of it. Wanted
Well,
to be on screen a lot.
I mean, it is a major part of it because like so it turns into this is the gnome king who is who is the rock king
Who is the
in
guy who is Merlin
who
from Excalibur?
and was the doctor from the psych hospital.
No, I know, but like the
Yeah,
actor.
but yeah,
Isn't
the actor is Nicole Williamson, who
I looked it
was
up and I was like, "Oh
Merlin
my
from
God, it's
Excalibur.
Merlin."
I didn't even have to. I was like, I know that voice. I was like, God damn it, Merlin.
All right, going ahead again. I'm gonna do it again. When he shows up in his rock form with the blue eyes,
Uh-huh.
that was another moment where I was like,
Oh no.
"Oh yeah."
Did you like his little Queen-esque like foot show with the ruby slippers?
Yes, obviously, but like no, but it was just kind of like he has this face about him where he's just kind of like I'm gonna do my best
Uh-huh.
impersonation. Where
Uh-huh.
he's just like look at my eyes. They're very
Look
blue
at
right
them.
now.
Look at them.
But like like everything he does, and then
Hmm.
he's smoking his little pipe, and he's like,
Hmm. Hmm.
hey, he's just like
I don't
he's
know
just so
how he
campy.
didn't
He's so
do.
campy about it.
I feel like wasn't he in one of the Oh, he's in The Exorcist 3,
Oh my God.
which
Yes,
is
he
another like
was.
it's another
He was the
like
priest. He was the main priest in
yes,
it. Oh my
yes. He
God.
was the main priest in Exorcist 3.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay. Exorcist. Okay, no. We're not gonna get into that. But like Exorcist 3 was amazing. So good.
Yes. It if I had watched that as a child, it would have scarred me for
Oh, it scarred
life.
me as an adult.
It
Like,
did scar me as an adult. What's his
no,
fucking
no, no.
face
What is his name?
is yeah, I know. I don't know why I'm
The guy who
blanking on
plays
his
Chucky.
name. Yeah. Oh God.
His performance in that
Yeah.
movie is
He
still to
but
this
he's
day
he
makes me
always
feel
he's
away.
always an unhinged but like an unhinged genius. And I
Yes.
like because he's
That
in Star Trek
monologue.
Voyager. He is this
Oh yeah.
character that like sells them off to this alien race whenever they first get in there. And then he kind of feels bad about it and is rehabilitated and like ends up saving them from that alien race in the end. But he has to sacrifice himself in order to do it. And
I'm gonna
I
look
think
it up
his
right now
character's
because
name
I
is
gotta know.
Suter.
Oh, Brad
Yeah.
Dourif. Brad Dourif.
Yes, Brad Dourif. Yeah.
Fucking Brad Dourif is. Well, I mean, think about his performance in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Also, like he sells the shit out of that
Unhinged.
role.
God,
Wait,
that fucking
uh,
role.
March 18th. Oh, Pisces.
Okay.
Yeah, like but like on the almost
Edge. On the edge of me. Yeah.
Almost Aries, but
On
like
the
Pisces.
cusp. I could see that.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Anyway, but like yeah, like that claymation face reminded me so much of what was his name? Ray Houston.
Harryhausen.
Yeah,
Harryhausen.
thank you,
Yeah.
Harryhausen. Yeah, like I got
Yeah.
really Clash of the Titans vibes from that,
Yeah.
but it
Well,
was great though.
yeah, I think some of the animators had worked with him in a little
Clash of the
bit.
Titans was 81,
Yeah,
right?
81, 82, something like that.
Yeah, so it was like
Around the
fairly
same
It
time.
was
Like,
it was really good animation. Like the
yeah.
animation was actually pretty good,
Yeah.
but it was also kind of like overused in the movie. Like it was a little
Yeah.
too much of it.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and I get why they did it because these are supposed to be the Gnome King's minions and they are watching the Emerald City to try to So basically, the Gnome King's motivation is that he sees the Emerald City, which is actually built out of emeralds, as having been stolen from him
Mm-hmm.
because he likes to keep hold of all of his gems. And the
Because he's
ruby
a stone
slippers,
guy,
yeah, yeah.
which it was kind of a cool plot. It's kind of a cool idea. Yeah. Sorry.
And so he's using his little minions to keep track of things. He has captured the scarecrow because whenever the wizard, you know, noped off, essentially, and then
No.
and then yep, nope. And
Nope.
then um Dorothy, returned back to Kansas, but
Nope.
in yeah, also kind of noped off.
No, more like
Um
nope.
yeah. Yeah. Which is funny because they keep making this thing of like, well, if you return by use of the ruby slippers, where are the ruby slippers? And they have to kind of like say they fell off on the way.
Yeah.
So like how does that
Yeah.
even how
That
does
feels
that
like
even
that feels like
work?
it feels I feel so
They were
bad for
trying
her
to
because
fill in the gap there.
no, to me it felt really like to me that was where the gaslighting felt really bad
Mm-hmm.
because it
Mm-hmm.
feels like she had no defense of herself at that point. And
Right.
so like if
Yeah.
she was a prime victim for gaslighting at that point.
But I mean, if you look at it from even that perspective, the first Wizard of Oz, she is kind of gaslit into killing the Wicked Witch.
Well, yeah.
Like she's basically given the shoes that can take her home. She's not told that they are the shoes that can take her home and how to do it. She must go on this journey. Why? Fuck all. To go see this man who obviously Glinda knows he's a fucking nothing, but for some reason he's there still in power. And she doesn't seem to give a shit. And then comes up at the end and is like, "You've always had the power to return." You
I
know,
think I think Glinda is bored. I
I
think
she
Glinda's
must be. She
she
must be
must be
bored
bored
with her life
because she just
because
I
she's
think she
just
just likes to
fucking with
fuck with
people.
people.
She just likes to fuck with people.
She does. Even in Wicked, she was.
Yeah. Like, but and she's not in this one. You know what? I actually have the wiki for Return to Oz open, and I just saw Marvelous Land of Oz, Ozma of Oz.
Marvelous Land of Oz. That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, so not the Wonderful
Sorry.
Land of Oz, but the
My
Marvelous Land of
brain.
Oz.
Anyway, so they've fallen, the ruby slippers fell off of her feet, so somehow she still got back even without the slippers. So I'm like, what, what? So, and like his minions found them and brought them back to him. He is like pissed off that the Emerald City is made out of his emerald, so he's torturing the Scarecrow
Right.
because the Scarecrow was left in charge of the Emerald City.
So he just assumed that it was the Scarecrow's choice,
Yeah, like
and
he's
so
the one who built the Emerald City. I'm like, but logically, and you can see everything that
right,
he was not in charge when the Emerald City was built, right? Like
right.
you know this, right?
He's kind of an idiot though. As a,
Yeah.
I
As
mean,
a villain,
as a villain, he's kind of an idiot.
but I mean, even as a doctor, he was kind of an idiot.
Right.
Like it feels like, I mean, and so he had been like employing Mombi, who is the nurse in this
Oh,
world,
wait.
this fucking queen,
She was both my favorite character.
and my least favorite character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like the coolest concept, but also like the worst execution.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Her
Cause
acting is weird.
yeah, so my brain, this is what my brain did. So let me take you on this journey. My brain decided that it was Sigourney Weaver from Ghostbusters.
Are you the keymaster?
Yes.
I mean,
So
she does kind of look a little like her.
yeah. So the whole time my brain just
Especially
substituted.
especially her in her outfit in the end looks like the outfit during the
Yeah.
"Are you the key
Okay.
master? I'm the gatekeeper."
Keeper. Yes.
Just like
Yes.
always.
I my brain just substituted because I was like, I'm tired of this actress. I don't want her here anymore. Can I please have Sigourney Weaver instead? So so like when I watched it the second time, I was like, oh, she's not as cool as I thought she was. In my
Yeah.
head, she was a lot cooler because I imagined Sigourney Weaver
That's funny.
with like her blown out hair and with like
Yeah. Yeah.
but like that whole like head swapping thing was
Yeah,
it's
and they
pretty dark.
executed that pretty
It was pretty cool
pretty cool. It's
until it got to her.
interesting. Yeah.
Until it, yeah, like all the other heads, like the
So,
heads that
yeah.
were
Like
cool
so
until it got to her head.
she was like basically stealing heads from the women in Emerald City. So she had turned all of Emerald City into stone, or yeah, they kind of say that she turned everybody into stone, which in my mind
Did
doesn't make
she?
any sense. Should be the Gnome King that turned him
Okay,
into
because
stone.
I was about to say, wasn't it him that
It
did it?
should be. I don't know. But basically they come across these like stone statues that are missing heads, and it's like in this like Grecian urn type dance or
Very
whatever.
Medusa, very
Yeah,
like Clash of the
and
Titans
yeah,
again.
and like steals their heads, chops them off. For some reason, once they're cut away from their body, they are now regular heads. Doesn't make any sense.
No.
And like she's just collecting heads for her moods and for she wanted to look younger or something. There's
Hmm.
not a whole lot of like motivation for why she has the multiple heads. I'm sure it's explained more in the books. Questionable because she is in the books.
But it is a terrifying concept,
Yeah, but it's a
and the
freaky ass
execution.
concept. And when it happens, like because Dorothy stumbles upon with so Dorothy and Bellina are traumatized by the Wheelers as soon as they get into the Emerald City. Like they find all these people are stone statues.
Mhm.
Whoever made them that way, don't really know. And then they get kind of like cornered into this corner where they're gonna be like destroyed by the Wheelers, and then she remembers the key that says Oz on it. So I guess it's a
Mhm.
fucking skeleton key to anything in Oz. And so she's able to open this wall and she goes through
Beetlejuice
it.
style.
I know, right? I'm like, okay, we're gonna open a wall like a door. And they quickly jump in and then and are protected against the Wheelers in there, and they find TikTok, which is this like if C3PO and the Tin Man had a baby.
Maybe you can tell us what happened to the Emerald City.
I've just about had enough of you. Be malfunctioning within a day, you nearsighted scrap pile.
Like, and it
But with
got
like
fat.
this, but with this attitude of
Hmm.
like really rude.
He's kind of rude, but he's also very caring at the same time. Like it's very strange. But
He's
so is
very
C3PO. Like he's also kind of rude.
well rude in a different way. Like rude,
Yeah.
like he's rude in like a very demanding way. Like
Yeah.
get me up, get me up, get me up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
that's true.
demands. Very Capricorn.
Yeah.
He's very Capricorn.
But he has these
He's a
three,
Capricorn robot.
yeah, he has these three keys on him. So
Yeah.
instead of oiling him like the Tin Man, he has to be wound up by these keys. And there's a thinking key, there's a moving key, and there's a talking key. Is that
Mm-hmm.
right? I
Yeah.
couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I know there's a moving separate from the
And I will
mind.
say, like, throughout the movie, it gets really confusing. Like,
Yeah, and also like he'll so it shows that if he's wound up, he should be good to go for 1,000 years. he constantly is winding down
Yeah.
at random fucking times.
And Dorothy will be like, "Oh, I wound this up, but I didn't wind this up." And it's like,
Yeah,
"Wait, when? What?"
right? When did this
So
happen?
like it
Why
just feels
didn't
like
you do all of this at
it
the
feels like
same
the
time?
writers chose that as like an aspect so where like
Uh-huh.
now we're
To
gonna
to
use that.
fit the narrative,
Right.
for sure. It's
Because
definitely a plot device that has uh,
also fuck the
no logic
inventor.
behind.
Fuck
Yeah,
that
fuck the
inventor
inventor.
who did that because
I'm like,
that's
do you have to like sit there and turn it for like 10 minutes on all of them to get 1,000 years? Because clearly it doesn't fucking work
so
like it
like if
says
you
it's
have
supposed to.
the app Nebula on your phone, you know, like the
Hmm.
horoscope shit, where it shows like your biorhythm, where it's like your intellect going down and your physical going.
Yeah,
It's like
pretty
that.
much.
It's like that. It's like, uh,
Because at one point
uh,
he can still move, but he's an idiot. Like,
yeah, right. So I'm just like, so why wouldn't you just? I don't know.
I don't
Sorry.
know. Anyway, so they wind him up. They get out of there. The Wheelers come back. He like is able to take them all out by just slapping him in the face.
I mean, they're terrible. So
I mean, it's
I,
great, but also so stupid.
oh yeah, doesn't he do like the
Yeah, he
wheelie
just spins around, slapping him in the
like a top
face. And it doesn't really do anything to the Wheelers other than they've been slapped in the face.
face? Yeah.
But there's this like main one, and he almost is like, "Come here, young man," and like grabs him by the ear and is like, "You're gonna do what I tell you to do." And so like the one wheeler like gets him to the castle in the Emerald City,
Hmm.
and lets them in, and he's like, "Okay, you're gonna promise to not come after us if we see you again." And he's like, "Yeah, I promise. I promise." Like it's not even like it's not even subtle. It's like, "I promise. I promise. Oh yeah, I promise." And like shifty eyes. I'm like, "What?" Okay, whatever. And takes off. And they kind of get separated in the castle. Like she stumbles upon Mombi. She's like playing a harp. Mombi takes her into like her her dressing room, is like, "I'm gonna slip into something more comfortable." And I was like, "For a
Ew.
child?
Yeah.
Gross."
Right.
But and really she's talking about slipping into a different head.
Right.
And so like she
Which
like
gave me
takes
very
off
much
her
like
head.
which gave me Bluebeard vibes. Like you know the story of Bluebeard.
Uh
Okay, so Henry the Eighth, right?
uh-huh.
With all
Uh-huh.
the wives.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Henry the Eighth. So Bluebeard is inspired by that, where like he has this new wife, like Bluebeard has
Uh-huh.
this new wife, and he's like, you can't go through this door.
Uh-huh.
And of course she does, 'cause it's a fairy tale. And when she goes through the door, it's like all the murdered wives on the wall on the
Oh
walls.
God. Uh-huh.
Basically, like that's kind of the vibe I got from this plot line. It
Hmm.
was just like
Yeah, she has
like
these little like capsules with heads in them, and like you can tell that some of them have been stolen off those statues that were dancing around in the courtyard.
but they're all emoting
Like,
and they're all
yeah, and they're
like
all
they're
like
alive.
beautiful ladies' head. Well, a lot of them are asleep whenever she goes to each one.
Right, right. Until
Um,
after. Yeah.
yeah, and then she's like, "We don't go into that chamber." And I was like, "Okay, you just gave things away with that one, dumbass." But whatever. And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna harvest you whenever you're old enough because you have a
Oh,
pretty
no, no, no.
face."
No, they were saying something about memory. So like each head has a different type of memory.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think TikTok said something along the lines of no, it was not TikTok. There was another character who was saying something like
It's probably
she
Jack
probably doesn't
Pumpkinhead.
yeah, yes. She
Yeah,
probably doesn't remember because she was wearing head
a different
23 at the
head.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
yeah.
said that, and it turns out that head 23 is
Is
the
the
Mombi head.
original head, the
Yeah, the
Mombi
original
head.
head.
Yeah.
So
And
like
so they all get like, but she does say to Dorothy, "Oh, you're a beautiful head." I'm gonna store you away until you're old enough for me to harvest it. Ugh, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's
So she
that's messed
throws
up.
her and Belina and TikTok into this attic space
Mm.
in the castle, like, and with all these other weird items that are there. They find this like this green moose head and they call him a gump. And I'm like, that is a terrible name for that type of animal, but whatever.
I like
And
Gump though.
I know Gump is great, but and
He
then
run,
there's
he's
Jack
like
Pumpkinhead that's in there too. His favorite. And Jack Pumpkinhead is like was created by Mom B, but like to be her son, but
he's
like
too much
she
like Scarecrow to me though. Like
yes.
he's too much
Yes.
like Scarecrow.
Yes. And
Mm.
yeah, it's just it's very so they basically tried to replace all the other ones with different characters. So they
Right.
replaced Tin Man with TikTok.
But they brought Scarecrow back.
Yes, because he's the king of the Emerald City.
So they brought Scarecrow back, but then they replaced Tin Man. Well, no,
Well, Tin Man and the Lion do show up at the end.
they do, but
Yes, but
as far as the
non-talking
core three,
parts. Yeah,
they have
yeah.
Tin Man replaced by TikTok.
hmm
I guess the
Gump
Lion is replaced
is replaced by the Gump.
sort of, but then they also have Jack
Bully.
and the Scarecrow at the
Yeah,
same
but
time. They're both
most
Scarecrow.
most of the time the Scarecrow's not there.
Yeah, that's
Most
true.
of the time it's just Jack Pumpkinhead. So
Yeah.
Jack Pumpkinhead kind of gives them all of this information that they need, but
It's a
like in the
lot of people. It's a
stupidest.
lot of characters.
It is a lot of characters for
The
reasons.
time.
Yeah. And like she's still seeing these like visages of that blonde girl in these mirrors every so often.
Mhm.
Like, and she's like, what the fuck? I was like, how is she here?
Yeah.
And I thought she was dead. Like, because I would think that she's dead. Like, if you guys both got swept away in a river during a
Right.
rainstorm, she gonna be dead.
You're gonna be dead.
She dead. But
Also during a thunderstorm. Yeah.
yeah. So so like Jack is like, "Oh, Mombi has this powder, this life powder or whatever
Mm.
that brings life to things, but she stores it in this in with head number
It's
23 and
basically a
has the
locker. It's a
key. Yeah,
locker.
in a locker with head number 23 that she has this key around her neck the whole time that's like a bright red creepy ass key. It so
It's a
this whole
ruby key. It's ruby.
it's a ruby key.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Barbarella whenever she has to go and steal the key from whatever the hell the woman who's like, "Hello, pretty, pretty."
You're very pretty, pretty, pretty.
Oh God. Uh,
My
the
pretty,
lesbian
pretty.
subplot of
Yes,
Barbarella.
the weird
God.
lesbian subplot that they become this this
I love
polycule with
I love that movie, but oh God, that was such
that movie is a fever dream again. But
we like fever dream movies apparently. I don't know.
apparently, I mean that and Flash Gordon.
Which I have never seen yet.
You
Did I see
have,
Flash?
you just don't remember it.
Maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, but so she has to like sneak into the sleeping quarters, and Mombi, for whatever reason, in my mind, this is the stupidest thing. She sleeps without a head.
I mean, I
So,
would. I could.
but you're a queen. You're doing some awful shit. Don't you think at some point somebody's gonna try to make the jump on you while you're asleep, especially if they know you don't sleep with a head on? Like, because you can't see shit. Like, she literally can't see shit. And
Right.
she's kind of like fumbling through headless as a body
Hmm.
until Like, so she steals the key, she breaks into the locker. The head in the locker is the OG Mombi head, I assume, but they call it number 23, so where's number one? But whatever.
Right. Right.
And she steals the life powder, but the head freaks out and like alerts all the other heads, which alerts the body, and the body's like stumbling to go and get her.
Hmm.
And then
Which is a
like sh
horror show.
yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck? It feels like the Billy Butcher scene whenever his head gets knocked off and he's like,
Yeah. Again, it's like for children, this is a lot.
yeah. You're like, okay, that's kind of freaky. Like, I would
Yeah.
be freaked out if a body without a head came
Mhm.
after me. And if I even saw that, because then I'd be like, oh
Well,
my
it's not
God,
it's
zombies.
not only that, but like she's in a room surrounded by heads that all start screaming
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time.
Hmm.
you know,
Like an alarm system.
yeah. So it's terrifying.
Right? And so she grabs head number 23, she puts it on. Um, they run upstairs, like, and they have fastened the gump head to a couch with wings, quote
Yeah.
unquote.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that this would work if
Right.
it was an animal, but then they put this life powder on it and it becomes a talking sentient thing and they have to be like, "Hey, I know you're just alive now, but we need to go. We need to go right now. Like, we need to get you out the window and flying." And he's like, "Do I even fly? Like, what the fuck?" And they're like, "Yeah, you've got wings now." And he's like, "Oh, okay, apparently I do." They're fans. They're just fans. They're attached to this couch somehow.
It's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang the sequel.
My God, that fucking movie. I was showing Sky clips from that, and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" And I was like, "Roald Dahl," and the guy who
Is it Roald
made
Dahl?
he's the one who
Is
wrote the
it?
screenplay,
Oh my God. That
but
makes a lot of sense.
but it is originally Ian Fleming, who
What?
is the James Bond writers.
Oh, okay.
So it is James Bond writing a children's story, quote unquote, that was
Hmm.
then adapted for a movie by Roald Dahl.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That's really interesting.
It's really freaking
That
weird when you get
explains
into it explains a lot about the
explains a
movie
lot about the movie. Right.
and the fucking child catcher that's fucking creepy.
Hmm.
But anyway, so um they get away from Mombi. She's like got her army of wheelers out looking for them. They kind of can't see where they're going. They don't even really know where they're going. Like they just kind of fly off into nowhere
I
until
mean, again, they're really stupid characters. Like,
yes, they really are. And while they're on this bed thing, this couch, because it's not a couch, it is a full-on bed. Like they keep calling it a couch, but I'm like,
yeah, it's
for
like
like
a
60 million people, like what the fuck? And
yeah, it's like a queen size bed in a frame.
yeah, and then Dorothy and Jack Pumpkinhead are like bonding in the back, and Jack Pumpkinhead is like, "I want to call you mommy," and I was like,
Oh, I know. Oh, I hate that subplot so much with like the like him call asking if he could call her mommy. I'm like, no, 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 no. She's 10 years old. This is not okay.
and she seems to be okay with it, but
She
whatever. It's weird.
I don't like it.
But yeah,
No.
it was a very strange subplot, and yeah. Anyway, so they end up like crashing into the Gnome King's mountain,
Hmm.
and they
Once
put
again,
Belina.
animatronic face.
Yes, and like these puppety faces that are they kind of look like Muppets, but not quite. Like it's a very
Mm,
uncanny valley type of thing that I just
yeah.
my brain has a hard time dealing with. And like,
I got really confused because the face of the Gnome King looks a lot like their minions. So
uh,
it was hard to like differentiate the two.
mm, he has a lot more eyebrow
Your Majesty, she has returned to Oz.
for some reason. That's the
Oh,
only
he's
way
got
I
a lot
could.
of eyebrow.
He's got a lot of eyebrow, whereas the other ones just kind of look like a weird little face. Like I,
Yeah, like
John Oliver during the pandemic was having this like weird like moment where he had this face in his void that he was talking to that was Bob from Bob's Burgers voice.
oh,
And it's
John,
and
whatever his name.
yeah, John H. Benjamin or H. John
Yeah.
Benjamin. He's this voice of this void, and he looks like he's having a mental fucking breakdown. But the face looks like these faces that they made.
Oh God.
But anyway, so they're like, "Yes, bring me the trio and or the group or whatever, because it's four of them."
Right.
But I, for some reason, I felt like they left one of them outside, but they didn't, I don't think. But they definitely put the chicken inside of Jack Pumpkinhead's head.
Yeah, yes. It's Polina, it was Polina, TikTok, Gump,
Yeah. And
Jack,
Jack Pumpkinhead and
yeah,
Dorothy.
and then Dorothy.
And so they're
Well, I
given
guess they
like,
left the Wheeler outside. The Wheeler that was,
oh, maybe that's what it
well, I don't
was.
know.
I
But I
mean,
will say, so this is when the scene, like from this moment onward, the scene takes forever. This
yes.
whole scene about like the trial
Uh-huh.
takes forever, and I like this is the moment of the movie I remember the most because of how long it took.
See, for me, I remember it the least because I really don't give a shit about any of it.
I mean, yeah, I
So,
don't give a shit, but it's just like I guess I'm more hyper aware of like tedious things
yeah.
and
Yeah, I
like
guess that
the
makes sense.
trial the
Like
trial was
once
tedious.
once she gets into the room, I can kind of tell you a
Yeah,
little bit more in
right.
his room of memorabilia.
But
But
when
they
they
get
fail, they
yeah,
become a part of the memorabilia,
right.
right? Okay.
Yeah. But they get like three chances to choose. So each one of them gets three chances to choose. I think that's what takes so long is there's four of them and they all get or four of them and they all get three chances
But off screen. So we
off
don't see
screen.
that. So while that's happening, we have to deal with Dorothy and Gnome King having
Yeah.
like banter
Which
that is really slow. The
and
banter is
he's
slow.
What's happened to the scarecrow? Where is he?
Oh, I transformed him into an ornament, into an amusing and beautiful ornament for my palace.
and he gives them a dinner or something like that and like they have this sulfur soup and I was like, what the fuck?
That's disgusting.
It's a very strange. I'm like, ooh, great. Rotten eggs for dinner. Um, it's a
But his
very
acting is fun though. That's I think
yes.
that's why I remembered it is
I
because his
mean,
acting is just very like,
I get
aha,
I get
ruby
that. I mean,
slippers.
my notes are just like this fucking queen. This fucking queen.
Is he gay in real life?
I don't know, but he comes
Okay.
off as incredibly
He's just like,
queer.
ah, ruby slippers. Haha.
Yeah, so like
Why?
so each time one of them fails, he becomes more and more corporeal,
Yes,
which is very
which is kind
strange
of
to
cool.
me.
Yeah.
It's cool but strange. Like the way they executed it was very well done. Like his face becomes more defined, then his body
It was
comes more defined,
confusing.
and then he's got like actual legs with the ruby slippers on, and he's just like, I've got your ruby slippers. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is this?
It is very confusing. It's like you don't know
So
like
you like suck the life for it? Like what's happening here?
yeah.
Like as they're turned into memorabilia in his like memorabilia like
Mhm.
room,
But
like
then when Dorothy goes in and actually starts to guess,
uh-huh.
it like when she figures out the thing that they're all green,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like this is so dumb. Like,
Right. I was
how
like,
could
because there's like very little in there that's green.
right,
So you should be able to go, hey, that looks weird. Let me choose
right?
that one. I mean,
Well,
granted, they
and he was
sent,
complaining about emeralds.
yeah. Well, and they sent in what, the Gump first, and then Jack, or no,
I think
Jack, then the Gump, then TikTok.
TikTok. Yeah, TikTok
And
was. Yeah.
TikTok runs down, but he didn't actually run down. And
That's why
so,
he sends Dorothy in because like
mhm,
yeah, he's like he
to
didn't
wind
finish
him
his
up.
trial. Yeah, he didn't finish
Yeah.
his trial.
And so he's a fair guy, which is bullshit, but he is
Right.
fair in this regard, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
And so like sends her in to wind him up to finish his turn, but then like they're both gonna work together to figure out what the memorabilia is.
Mhm.
And
I
was
don't
it
remember what the
TikTok that
conclusion was.
chose? I think it was TikTok that chose, and then she saw that there was a new green item in the room, and she's like, "Oh my God, all of them turn green. Let me just choose all the green ones." And like she
Mhm.
got some of them back and was like, "Help me get the green ones." And he's like,
Mhm.
"No, they figured out my plan." And he starts freaking out and like trying to destroy the room, which they find the scarecrow, which the scarecrow is definitely based on the book version of the scarecrow
Yeah, yeah.
because it's a creepy ass face and he
It's
kind of looks like
terrifying.
Kermit. Like
A
it's like
little
Kermit
bit.
meets the scarecrow, like almost a flappy face from like South Park.
It kind of gives me more like if the original Wizard of Oz Scarecrow was like trying to like make a human face and then the rest was costume. This was
Yeah.
more like the kind of mask you would wear at Halloween, or just like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
like it was terrifying looking. It
It was
almost looked like
very
Jack in the
strange.
Box,
Mm-hmm.
like Jack in the Box
Mm-hmm.
Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It did. It looked like Jack in the Box. Like you just stuck a head on
Yeah,
something.
and then but it was like only the mouth moved and everything else was like
Yeah, it
fixed in
was all
place.
very stationary. There were no, facial expressions.
Yeah.
So he just looked like he was happy the entire time he was like, "We gotta get out of here." And you're like, "Oh God." Um, and so like he starts destroying the thing and like is like, "You have not played fairly," and like tries to like blow everything apart, and like
Being a
they're
sore
kind of
loser, yeah.
getting swallowed into his lava mountain,
Mhm.
and Belina is still inside Jack Pumpkinhead's head, and she it looks like
It
she
never.
takes a shit out of his eye. But she finally drops an egg.
Oh yeah, and he can't eat eggs.
Yeah,
What was
it's
what was up
poison
with
to
that?
they don't explain it. I guess maybe because it's a real
And he
thing.
fucking dissolves.
Yeah.
He dissolves with that egg, and I'm like, that
Yeah.
is okay. First of all, white egg. Two, like just it's like the witch is melting, but like
Uh-huh.
for the Gnome King, it just goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
"Aw."
It's very strange and
That
he's
would have traumatized me
destroyed.
as a kid as well. If I saw that
Uh-huh.
as a kid, I probably would have been like,
And
ah.
I guess because he's now dead, everybody who was turned into stones is now back to their corporeal self, but it does not explain how the women got their heads.
No.
They just
Whee!
have their heads back. And
That fantasy trope of like you defeat the villain and everybody
yeah,
gets
everything's reset to how it
yeah.
should have been. Like it, yeah. And Mombi is like imprisoned and they're like taken to the Emerald City, and everybody is like celebrating, and
But doesn't so wait, doesn't Princess they bring so how does
yes.
Princess Ozma come
So
back?
so Ozma, like, so they're in the Golden Throne room, but it has all these mirrors surrounding it. And Ozma is in one of the mirrors, and Dorothy sees her and she's like, "What the fuck? Like, I keep seeing you and you're the one who helped me escape. Who the fuck are you?" And they're like, "Oh, that's the princess." Oh no, Mombi gives up the information. I don't know why she gives up the information about it.
She needs to
Because
do
she's the
something.
one, because she's the one, yeah, I guess. Because she's the one who imprisoned Ozma in the mirror.
Mm,
And somehow, because like if she has that kind of power, why can't she do other things to save herself? But whatever.
yeah.
So
I get the vibe. I get the vibe from Mombi that she's like supposed to be like a super powerful witch, but then
mhm,
like easily like
is easily defeated.
right. She
Like,
she kind of gives me like the bad guy in Power Rangers. What's
yeah,
her name?
kind of. I don't remember, but I know who you're talking about.
Ah,
Yeah. Ah!
like it gives me her like where it's like she looks very powerful, she acts
Yeah.
very powerful, but then like
But
damn, she's done.
definitely like easily overthrown.
Yeah.
And she's like, "That's the original Princess of Oz, Ozma." And she starts speaking to her through the mirror and she's like, "Just pull me through." And she's like, "What? You'll
That
break the glass."
that moment gave me very much like never ending story. Like I was like, when was never ending story? What
Never
year was
saw
it?
it. Oh, it was around the same time,
Because
early to mid 80s.
it gives me
Yeah.
so
Oh
much
yeah,
never ending
for
story.
sure. I mean, it
You never
even
saw it?
no, I know.
Okay,
I avoided it
okay,
like the
we got to do it.
plague.
We got to do it on this podcast because I watched that too young, and it's weird to
Everybody I
say
know watched it too young
because it's a
because
children's movie,
it's the
but it
horse.
terrified
It's
me.
always the horse.
It's the horse or the wolf,
Yeah.
one or the other.
Yeah.
But like we got to do that one on this podcast anyway. But moving on. So, but yeah, it gives me a lot of that.
Yeah, and but also like so she pulls her through
Mm.
and she is instantly crowned the queen of Oz, and so I'm like, okay, Scarecrow
As you
can
do.
just go fuck himself. I mean, which is probably what he would rather do anyway, to be
Right.
fair. And oh, and the whole time, like during the fight, like with the Gnome King, Dorothy kept screaming, "He didn't steal your emeralds. They were
Uh,
already there."
yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
so Ozma stole the emeralds. Like,
It's really tedious. Like
yeah,
she repeats it like 4 or 5 times, and you're
yeah.
just like, we get
Okay,
it.
we
Oh my
get it.
god,
Yeah.
she's not listening to you. But she is a 10-year-old, so like give her, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing: what I don't get is all this shit happen, and then Princess Ozma's like, I forgive you.
I forgive Mombi. Dorothy has punished her by removing her magical powers. And a witch with no magic is a miserable creature indeed.
Like
Hmm.
because they're just trying to like make her like magnanimous
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so like they put like
So I'm
she
like, are you going to just release Mombi now? Like, because that seems like a bad plan.
right but like she just goes up to mom be like I forgive you, and it's
Yeah.
just like you were even in this movie, where were you like
Yeah. And she gives Dorothy the ruby slippers back. And I'm
like
like, this is
Dorothy
what
should
got her
forgive
in the
her.
problem. Yeah, I was like, Dorothy is the one who should forgive her, but whatever. And like, so Dorothy's like, oh, I got the ruby slippers back. I can go back to Kansas, but if I keep them on, I'm like, girl, you got to keep those shoes on. Otherwise, you look crazy. Like,
So here's my so this is exactly what I thought when I saw the movie the second time.
uh-huh.
Right at this point, this moment in the movie, I was like, why do you want to go back?
Oh, that's my thing too. I wrote that in my notes too. I was like,
Because
why would you want to go back?
like
Why would you want to go
you
back?
clearly
Your
hated
aunt
it.
just put you in a mental institution.
You were
Like,
like
you don't think
getting
she's not gonna do that again?
tortured.
Yeah.
You
And like,
almost drowned. And like, you want to
Jesus
go back?
fucking Christ. Yeah.
She acts too much like an adult in the sense of
Right?
like she feels.
Because they're written by adults. So it's just like
But like, you know how an
they're not
adult's like,
written
I
like
got
a
to get back to
kid.
my life. Like, you know, when
Yeah.
you, as an adult, you go
Yeah.
on vacation, you're like, oh, I have to go back to my life because I got
Uh-huh.
shit to do.
Yeah.
Because you probably do have shit to do. But
Yeah.
as a 10-year-old,
And
what do you have to
I
do?
gotta pay bills and take care of a
Yeah,
family
take
or
my
whatever,
cat, my poor
Yeah,
cat, you know?
I got responsibilities. I got two dogs that I gotta take care of. Like,
Right. But like
I mean, I
10-year-old
guess
Dorothy,
Toto,
like, yeah,
but
but
like
like,
you could go back to Kansas, get Toto, and go back to Oz. Like,
right.
not I need to stay there because
But so,
clearly Aunt Em thinks you're a fucking nutcase. Uncle Hank won't stand up for you, so
so at that moment, I was like, why though? But
I
why?
know.
Just stay here.
So she goes back and she's found on the side of the river by Aunt Em. We kind of talked about this earlier. She's
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, exposition, exposition, exposition. This is how we wrapped up these storylines." And
Nurse gets
then
taken off.
yeah, nurse is taken off in a prison. Doctor was killed in the fire because he was too busy with his fucking tools. And
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 basically, just like the original,
and the
it's just
house
kind
is
of like,
back. Yeah, and it's just like fuck all happened. But like and basically what Dorothy has learned from this experience is I need to keep my stuff to myself. Like basically she was taught to keep secrets. Because then she sees Ozma in the mirror and she almost tells Aunt Em that Ozma is there in the mirror
mhm.
with her and Ozma is like, "Shh, I'm your secret." And she goes, "Never mind."
Hide your mental illness, y'all.
Right? I'm like,
That's terrible. That reminds me.
and also they have this very strange and maybe this is just me reading into it. It seems a very lesbian type vibe from the two of them,
I mean, yeah. Okay. So, did you ever
especially when
see?
Jack Pumpkinhead is like, "You're both my moms now." I was like, "Yeah, you got two
Yeah.
moms."
Did you ever see the Babadook?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
But
so
that isn't that like mental illness? Like,
it's not explicit. It's not explicit in the movie, but like it's whatever you want it to be. But that's how
oh,
I took
okay.
it. Was mental
Hmm.
illness.
I think a lot of
So
people also took it as like gay or something, like hiding your gayness or something.
it really, so it's basically about dealing with something that you know is like a fear, and instead,
Societally not acceptable or something.
because I'm just gonna spoil it. Sorry, guys.
Hmm.
Like Babadook. Okay, I'm gonna spoil it. At the end of the movie, they decide that they're gonna like allow the Babadook to be in their basement, and they feed it every day. But it's kind of this, like, they've made peace with it. Like, it no longer
Hmm.
haunts them, but they
Hmm.
feed it every day.
Yeah.
Which to me, I thought is mental illness, because it's like it's something that you have to understand. Like, you have something that's
Hmm.
that's
And you can
about
live
you.
with it.
You live with it, but you have to acknowledge it. You can't
Yeah.
ignore it, because if you ignore it, it will kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, I get
I
that.
guess you can do the same thing with
Or
sexuality. If
addiction or
addiction,
yeah.
if you ignore it, it will kill you.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
if you acknowledge it and you like feed it, if you like give it a space to
Hmm.
exist in your life, it will, like, you can
Hmm.
live. But that's kind of like what I got out of Return to Oz, where it's like
Yeah.
he's
It's like,
like,
oh, Dorothy's cured now, but she's really just lying to
right.
everybody.
And it's sad, but like in the
Yeah.
context of the time period, it's
It
actually the
feels like a very
healthiest.
80s.
It's the
Like,
healthiest thing you could expect for that time,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we'd hope.
But I don't know. Yeah. It's just,
It's
and
sad.
there's,
It's sad. From a
yeah.
2025.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey, 2025
Hey.
vibe. It feels really backwards, but like in the
Hmm.
80s,
Yeah. I mean,
Wizard of Oz really didn't feel like it was doing any criticism of anything. It was just kind of like
no. but it, I mean, it was a kids movie. That's what
But
it was
Return to
supposed to
Oz is
be.
supposed to be
And this was
too.
supposed to be a kids movie too, but the
It feels like a social
person who
message.
took this on, he went into a weird headspace, and I think what his intention was to separate it from the original movie
Maybe.
so that because in mentioning stuff that wasn't in the original movie, he was trying to separate it. Like he put in details from the books that are not in the original movie. Like they put in this she describes how the Tin Woodsman became the Tin Woodsman. Like
Mm.
he was in love with this person, and the
Mhm.
person's father made him
Chopped off his
chop off
limbs.
his
Yeah.
limbs
That
until
was in the
he
book.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, and so like that's in the book. That's not in the movie. Like you
Yeah.
don't know why he's turned into a Tin Woodsman. They kind of allude to it, but like
Yeah.
not really.
I do remember that and being kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah. And so he was definitely trying to separate it, and it was written and directed by the same person.
It also gives me a vibe of somebody who is really a big fan of the books,
Uh-huh.
but also had like really had something to say about the books, like really read
Hmm.
into the political, because there's books written about the
Yeah.
political angle of
Hmm.
Baum, right? His
Hmm.
name is
Yeah.
Baum.
L. Frank Baum. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that that's probably what was going on, was like whether he liked it or not, his own
Hmm.
ideas about the political world of Oz
Yeah. Because it did
leaked
seep
into it.
in. He did seep into it because he was a journalist before he started writing these things. And so it did have a slightly political tone to it.
Mm.
And then the director slash co-writer Walter Murch, he did THX 1131 or 38 with
Oh
George
yeah.
Lucas. He did a
Really?
Apocalypse Now. He was a cinematographer before he did the directing. And so he
That
did
makes
all of
sense.
these Godfather series, American Graffiti, Ghost, English Patient, like
Wow.
those are very
Yeah.
similar in tone, and
It's
it
why
makes sense, but like
it
he's
looks
not a
good.
child.
It
Like,
looks good.
yeah.
It doesn't look bad. Like honestly, like I mean
Yeah.
we can sit here and talk crap about this
Yeah.
movie, but like it doesn't look bad. It
Yeah.
looks good.
Hmm.
It's just that it doesn't, like
And then
it's inconsistent in what it's trying
yeah.
to do. Like the
Yeah.
story and the aesthetic tone it has a tone problem.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because then he had two cinematographers with him. So he's a cinematographer and he's also leaning on two other cinematographers, and one did Tea with Mussolini and Out of Africa, which are very strange movies to compare
Ultra
this with.
realistic. Ultra
Yeah.
realistic. Yeah.
And then the other one is Tales from the Crypt, Dune, Glory, and the French Lieutenant's Woman and the Elephant Man.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense. So like take like the ultra realistic with like the like crazy
Highly
like
dark, intense.
surrealistic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah,
like,
that
well,
makes
no
sense.
wonder this movie is fucking
It's why it
weird.
looks like Labyrinth.
Yeah. And so, and then
It's
you
almost like
have,
like a dark cartoon, but in real
right?
life.
Yeah. And then you've got Nicole Williamson, who is the Doctor slash the Gnome King. He was in Excalibur, he was in Robin and Marian, he was in The Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
And then you have the woman who plays Annem. She was in Upstairs, Downstairs, Cleopatra, and Willow. Um, or no, that's the woman from that's the nurse. Never mind.
Mommy.
Yeah, Mombi.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then the woman who played Aunt M, she was in Carrie in Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks?
Yeah,
With the movie or the show?
the show.
Okay.
And then and then you got Fruza Balk, who was in this was her first feature film role.
Yeah.
She had done a couple other things before this, and then she did Craft Waterboy, The Craft Waterboy, Almost Famous, The Worst Witch back in 86 with Tim Curry and American History X. I think we're gonna end it there. I think we have decided the 80s were a nightmare.
Cocaine.
And this movie shows how much of a nightmare the 80s was.
Yeah.
But also could have been very exciting. Because it seemed like parts of it were exciting to her and she wanted to be back there, but
sense of responsibility and duty.
I don't really understand the
I
sense
don't
of
either.
responsibility. I was like, just stay there and
You're
run
10 years
Oz with
old.
Ozma. Like, but whatever. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this tangent-filled
Well,
fever
you just
dream.
expect that now.
I know. And we'll be back shortly, I'm assuming, maybe with Never Ending Story.
Maybe. Or
And
what was the other one we were talking about?
oh, I don't know. We talked about so many
I
others.
know we talked about a lot, but we'll see. You'll know.
Yeah.
You will
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know, or you can let us know in any of the comments on any of the sections that we put
Yeah,
this on.
what movie traumatized you? Tell us a
Yeah.
lot.
Please tell us
Let's see if
if
we have
we
anything in
agree.
common.
Yeah. But you can find us on all the socials except for Twitter. I refuse to get back on Twitter. And
Understandable. Understandable.
Instagram, we are the They Effed Us Up pod. On YouTube, we're also They Effed Us Up pod, and I guess we're also going to be on TikTok and possibly Threads in the future, so keep a lookout for that, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.